to our item 10. That's what we've been waiting for, the library business. So we have a staff report. Thank you.
Mayor and council members, I'll introduce this topic. Jay, first slide. This has been a very difficult process, particularly for staff. I did have the pleasure of
Excuse me. Please be respectful. We want to respect everyone, and you should expand the same respect to everyone. Let's have a civil dialogue, and please, let's continue with this item, and we would love to hear from everybody. Thank you. Mr. Rapp.
I just wanted to say I did have the pleasure of actually meeting the woman that was carrying this sign. She was in my office the other day, and we spent about 20 minutes talking about this subject, perhaps longer. I know I've sat in on meetings with you and a number of citizens. At least in my 30 years with the city, this has been one of the most vocal, intelligent, polite, and well-spoken groups of people that we have interacted with as a staff on a very, very difficult issue. And there's a lot of folks that we have worked with on staff, Chairman Giles from the Board of Trustees, Elmer Cameron from the Friends of the Library, Jack Anderson from the Foundation, who we've talked to throughout this process. And so I titled this slide, An Admittedly Difficult Process. Jay Petrick, City Attorney Mike McGinnis, Cheryl Bennett, and Joan Ryan from the Finance Department have been very helpful as we've explored this opportunity. The final decision whether or not to outsource library operations is up to you, the 5 council members. Our job as staff, even if it's very, very unpopular, which it clearly appears to be, is to present you with the background, the information, and let you make a decision on what you would like to do as a policy matter for the city. There's a few key issues that I think will emerge from the discussion and become clear to you this evening. So Jay and I want to just give you some background facts on what's on the table, what's being proposed. We want to turn it over to library systems and services representatives. In some circles, they are very unpopular, but we found them to be good to work with, have given us a lot of information. I think they'll give you a lot of information. They have a PowerPoint to present, not as a member of the public, but actually as a representative staff, because they're proposing this endeavor. So with that in mind, just a couple of quick facts on our Escondido Public Library. Our current facility opened in 1980. We have about 40 total employees at any one point. 18 of those are represented by the Escondido City Employees Association. We've had dialogue with that association. The number fluctuates a little bit, but it's split between full-time and part-time. Their 2018 operating budget was $3.6 million. They're open to the public 51 hours a week, no Sunday hours presently. They have made a proposal for Sunday hours, which we've discussed in the staff report. Approximately 172,000 plus items in print, audio, digital circulating collection, high-speed broadband, free Wi-Fi. They have extensive child and adult literacy programs and services. By some counts, well in excess of 400 different programs, appealing to a wide range of folks. They have very active friends and volunteer organizations. The level of participation which has occurred in the public process and the people here tonight are evidence of that. There is the Pioneer Room, which I'm particularly fond of because it's an extensive collection of local history and genealogical research materials that they maintain and do an excellent job maintaining. So, Jay, next slide. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Jay Petrick. I'm your Assistant City Manager. We have a number of slides that we're going to present before you and the public today with several objectives, focusing on 4 key points, specifically what is being proposed tonight. You'll have a chance to hear that and ask questions. Why are we proposing this, and why is it something that you might want to consider? We also have a presentation from Library Systems and Services, and then an opportunity to ask staff and the applicant or Library Systems and Services staff questions as well. So what exactly is being proposed? Basically, a private company, Library Systems and Services, would propose to operate the library's day-to-day management. They would be hiring employees. They would be working with potentially city staff who would become their employees. They would be given that opportunity, and that would be part of a contractual arrangement with them. That would be part of an agreement that we have with them. But then they would continue to operate the library, and the city would provide a management fee to the LS&S for providing this service. The City Council would continue to have the final say over the library, except that it would be by means of a contract that would be signed with LS&S, rather than through the city manager and his office as is currently being conducted. The library would continue to be a public library, and this has been there's been a little bit of confusion about this, that we're privatizing the library. It's becoming a private library, and that's not the case. It would be a public library, the same way it operates in the manner it does today. Even the name would stay the same. The Escondido Public Library name would not change. And also the buildings, the property, and the collections of the library would remain city assets. So these are not being transferred to a private company. They will remain as city assets on our rolls. The Library Board of Trustees, a very important organization to the community and to the city, would remain intact. There would be no changes proposed to the Friends or the foundations, organizations that are associated with the library and the great work that they do. And the volunteers who devote hours and resources to the library, they would have the ability to direct their time and resources where they choose, as they currently do today. Getting back to the programs that Jeff started in his presentations, there are currently more than 400 programs offered by the library, serving a wide range of the public, with a focus on literacy, getting people interested in reading, and a whole host of other benefits that provide the city. And these would be provisions that would be in the contract with LS&S. So it would be up to the City Council to determine how much and what of those programs they want to see continue. And then LS&S has their own ideas for programs that have been successful in other libraries that they operate around the community, and they'll talk a little bit, or around the nation, and they can talk a little bit about that in their presentation. But basically the bottom line is that LS&S would provide the levels of services negotiated by the city. If you want to see the same level of programming, they'll offer the same level of programming. If you want less or more programming, that ability to be structured into the contract remains as an opportunity for the council. Some of the key issues that would be delved into as the negotiations occur if the council directs staff to proceed. And we want to stress that there are and have not been any negotiations up to this point with LS&S. They've talked to us about how they have operated their libraries in other areas, how they've negotiated and how that process has been with other communities, and how the cities and communities that they work in have structured contracts in their areas. And we have actual contracts from other agencies that they work with, and are possibly or potentially using that as a template for moving forward. But one key important factor in the contract would be that the city would play a role in selecting the library director. We'd want to make sure it's somebody who is familiar with the community, familiar with the understanding of how to run a library like in Escondido. And this is not something that is different than how we have other contracted services. As an example, the Vineyard Golf Course is a contracted service that we operate with a private contractor, and we have a role in selecting that executive manager for the golf course. And we would want that type of ability in this contract as well. Another issue would be guaranteeing that current library staff would be offered a job with LS&S. And this is something that we've talked to them about, and they have agreed to. They, after looking at our programs, services, and hours of operation, would propose to expand the hours from 51 to 60 hours per week and open the library on Sundays. And we see this as a benefit to the community, something that currently isn't provided, and if structured into the contract would be a positive for the community. Through LS&S's experience in improving efficiencies and reducing administrative tasks, most of their efforts can be really focused and directed at serving the community, and that's how we would focus our contract negotiations. They have, through their power of purchasing, the ability to acquire technology at a lower cost. They can assure program offerings, and then we would stress that local staff be hired to the maximum extent possible moving forward as staff in the library transitions from this point forward, if council gives that direction. There would be substantial savings to the community, to the city, should a contract be signed with them, estimated to be in excess of $4 million over the course of 10 years. And the other issue that we see with possibly choosing LS&S as a contractor for the library would be to use them as support structure for a future bond measure that would be put forth to the community in attaining a vote.
Excuse me. Okay, please.
Regarding that bond measure, the staff report outlines several areas where the council has expressed extensive policy support for the library to date. However, all of the grant efforts that we have tried to pursue have not been successful, and we haven't really significantly expanded our base for support. And our goal would be to use LS&S's broader knowledge and connections to provide an opportunity to help us in structuring a bond measure that would be successful in the community. So why would this be something that we would be looking to present to the council, to the community, and why would it be something that you might want to consider? For one, it does align with the City Council Action Plan. This was an effort that the council conducted back in April, or actually back in March. In April, we came to you with the draft plan, and then in July with the final action plan. But we had several fiscal management strategies that gave us the direction to look at this and other cost-saving opportunities for the city. Basically evaluating opportunities for outsourcing, addressing the PERS unfunded liability through all appropriate measures, as well as identifying cost-reducing opportunities. Here's an annual operating cost comparison. This takes into account the city's model in the gray bar that shows what we anticipate expending on the library as it would operate in future years, in comparison with an LS&S model that would operate the library in the same manner it's being operated today, but at a reduced cost of, again, that $400,000 or $4 million over the course of 10 years. This is a well-publicized slide that has circulated amongst council meetings and in the community, and it demonstrates our normal costs and our unfunded liability costs for the public employee retirement system and how it impacts the city. And you can see as we focus the years out into the future, the increased costs and how that will impact the city's budget. This shows the general fund multi-year financial plan, and this was brought to the City Council back in June when we had the council approve our operating budget. And it shows that for last year and this year, we are operating with a balanced budget, but we were first at this last meeting to say that as we move forward into the decades or the years toward the next decade, we've got some structural deficits to deal with on the tune of over $1 million starting in 2018 up to over $6 million in 2020. And now take into account that any cost savings that we might generate from this effort with outsourcing the library services and other outsourcing or other cost reducing measures we find in other departments have not been included in this. But it does show that there is a need to do something different than we're doing now in order to find a way to ensure a balanced budget as we move forward. Outsourcing of services is not something new to the city. We have this as a common thread throughout several departments and several areas of expertise. The animal control services that provided by the Humane Society is a classic case in point. This is something where they provide a great service to the city. We provide them a management fee, and they control or they watch over and address animal and humane society issues that are in the community. Center for the Arts is another one where we offer a management fee to the organization. They operate the Center for the Arts, have an executive director, have staff that is not associated as city employees. They are separately paid and funded, but it's a city-owned facility that is operated under the auspices of the Center for the Arts Board. Reedy Creek and Vineyard Golf Course operations are also outsourced. EDI handles all of our waste and recycling collection and disposal operations. Internally, we have financial auditing services, sales tax monitoring and reporting, and collection services, all run by entities that are outsourced to private organizations. And then drilling down into the actual departments, we have design, engineering, planning, plan check services, legal services, architectural, landscape, equipment, and maintenance. These are all outsourced in various forms and fashions throughout the departments in order to save the city money, and it offers private firms with that expertise where we don't have it to provide a service to the city that we're able to, again, save money on.
Mayor, so I want to just, this next slide here is one that we've tried to identify some of the global issues that you will certainly hear a lot of public comment on tonight, and that we think you as policymakers should probably focus on. The first one of those is the library sacred from outsourcing? When you hear traditional outsourcing arguments, there is often the common thread that there are certain essential services that you do not outsource. And we've heard a great deal of public comment that the library is one of those such types of sources. So you'll need to grapple with whether or not you believe that to be true. The second one is, will LS&S provide the same or better services? We've heard a fair amount of public comment that LS&S, for example, is not as kind to their employees as, for example, the city is. We've gotten references from other cities and other organizations. We've put those on the website. But I think one of the core issues you'll need to grapple with is will LS&S provide the same or a better service? And certainly if you feel that they would not, then you may not want to go with this proposal. If you feel they would provide the same or better service, then this may be something you're interested in. And then finally, I think an important issue, I know particularly to a couple of you, as Jay talked about over the last, 17 years, we went back in page 5 of the staff report as early as October 2001 and looked for items where the council was given policy direction on a new library. It is very clear to us that all 5 members of this council have given us strong policy direction to get a new library. The consensus seems to be that that will require a bond issue. So one of the things this council will need to grapple with is, will LS&S jeopardize or actually help the city pass a bond measure? Certainly the theme in the staff report is that for the past 17 years, nothing we've done appears to have worked. And so it's been my position, at least as one person, that certainly it's worth looking long and hard at LS&S as a way to change up the game and perhaps get you where you want to go with the bond measure. I'm sure there's folks, though, that will offer arguments in disagreement to that. I think at this point we want to have the LSS people come forward and make a presentation to you. While they do, Jay, if you could just pull up the last slide. We focused again 3 areas: cost savings, $4 million saved over 10 years, reduced long-term PERS obligations. We focused on the performance levels which LS&S will offer you, the hours of operation, the Sundays, the efficiencies, and so forth. And then the final point, positioning for a future bond measure. So those have been the focuses of the staff inquiry and the staff report. And at this point, I think I'd like to turn it over to the LS&S folks, let them make a presentation, and then if you have questions for either they, Jay, or myself, and I believe we also have our finance folks are here. They're the ones that conducted all the costing analysis. They know that far better than Jay and I can let them speak to that if you have questions. So with that, I'll turn it over to LS&S.
While they're getting settled in, may I ask a procedural question?
Sure.
We had several requests via email to the council for members of the public to get an extended period of time to speak, and now that I'm seeing the LS&S is presenting, did we grant that extra time for the community to also present to us?
I will make that decision.
No, I'm asking if you already did. I just saw the
Yes.
requests. I don't know
Yes.
what the answer is.
I did grant an extra minute to Jack Anderson because he's the president of the foundation, and I granted an additional 2 minutes to Ron Giles. He is the president of the Board of Trustees. We have nearly 90 speakers, so we have to stick to our agenda and hear from everybody.
How
So-
many minutes does this presentation have?
I
should clarify, the LS&S presentation is part of the staff presentation
Right.
because they are the proposed outsourcing contractor.
So as long as they need.
Yes.
Look, I'm going to make a deal. Okay, listen, sir, listen. We need to hear from each of you. I have 90 speakers. We will respect you. We need to hear from you. At the same time, please respect others. You're going to hear a lot of disagreement. We have people in the audience that they are on opposite side of your position. I am not going to allow for this meeting to be disrupted because we cannot intimidate the people on the other side of the issue. Let's hear from you, and you hear from us. Let's have a civil conversation, but interrupting and intimidating, I don't think it's a good thing to do. Let's give everyone here the respect they deserve and hear each other civilly. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Todd Frager. I'm the COO with LS&S, and this is my colleague Ed Garnett, Vice President of Business Development. We thank you for providing us the opportunity to present the option of outsourcing the management of the Escondido Public Library. We'll begin with why we're here. The City of Escondido and governments everywhere are faced with challenging economics, the challenge of increasing the quality of service while controlling spending. Pension liabilities are not sustainable. The library represents roughly $3.6 million, a meaningful commitment on behalf of the city. LS&S is an experienced provider of library services, and we believe we bring motivation, innovation, efficiencies, improvements to existing services. We believe we can maintain maintain what patrons love about the current library while improving the engagement and outreach to a larger portion of the community, enhance programs and services, thus improving the opportunity to finance a new library for the citizens of Escondido. It is our responsibility and commitment to support the mission of the library, highlighting educating the community, free access to all citizens, while providing quality programs and services. The library's mission is consistent with LS&S's mission of supporting and preserving libraries with an emphasis on lifelong learning. We know libraries are the heart and soul of every community, and we're committed to partnering with this community to preserve, safeguard, and enhance this valued treasure. Our model is based on a true partnership and has been successful with customers across California. Just to be clear, we report directly to the Library Board of Trustees and the City Council. We will adhere to the governance in place today. We will take direction from them and partner to create a multi-year strategic plan. Our success is predicated on a partnership with friends, volunteers, and the Library Foundation. This process is emotional for everyone, and we recognize the importance of this choice to outsource. We have been listening, and we acknowledge the thoughts and concerns. These groups will remain intact and thrive while supporting the achievement of our joint goals and mission. In addition, we'll work to enhance relationships with other community organizations, and our customers are the citizens of Escondido, and will be accountable and contractually bound to the Library Board and City Council. As I just described, we adhere to governance structure of the library, and the current process does not get impacted by this partnership. A partnership with the Library Board to create a strategic plan. We believe in measurable outcomes. We will create analytics around outcomes and performance, delivering transparent data to this group. We have a shared commitment to preserving the library as a community asset. Next, I'll share a couple quotes from the president of the Friends of the Shasta County and Moore Park. It's a relationship where we work together. We've heard concerns voiced by the citizens that friends and volunteers will leave our engagement. We recognize that this is a commitment of volunteers. We will work tirelessly to gain their trust and engagement. Our friends and volunteers maintain their nonprofit status, and all funds raised remain property of the library. We believe the institution of the library is bigger than the employees and LS&S. It's the heart and soul of the community. And when we deliver the exceptional product, the citizens will engage. LS&S invests in volunteer coordinator positions throughout our system. We never take a volunteer for granted, and we work to provide them meaningful opportunities to support, proven in every system in which we manage. I'll pass to Ed.
Thank you, Todd. In addition to friends and volunteers,
Push the mic on.
thank you. In addition to friends and volunteers, we work very hard to create meaningful engagement with other organizations within the community. We've been very successful partnering with organizations such as the Chamber of Commerce and school systems, encouraging workforce development, supporting educators, and classroom content. We believe in lifelong learning from cradle to grave. The library should be a constant in everyone's life throughout. One example I'd like to share is in Shasta, where we have a dedicated school services librarian who has partnered with 25 school districts across the county to get a public library card in every student's hand. I want to emphasize this as strongly as I can in terms of that the library belongs to you, belongs to the city, belongs to the patrons. What we are proposing is not privatization, but outsourcing. What is the difference? The library, its contents belong to Escondido. Mr. Petra covered this. LS&S is responsible for the management. The books, the building, the furniture, Pioneer Room contents will always be the property of Escondido. The library remains local, another key issue. Under local governance, the programs and materials are ultimately decided by the local staff and board. We will not be successful unless the citizens have a library that meets their needs, and those needs differ throughout the country. Most importantly, the library continues to be a free public institution with access for all. LS&S is a for-profit company with a social mission. It is critical that we be a viable business, as contracting with a company in economic distress would not be advisable to the city. Our profitability allows us to reinvest in our employees through improved benefits and professional development. Our size and purchasing power allows us to optimize efficiencies while reducing costs to customers. We invest in creating new and innovative approaches to libraries, including new technology and analytics to better reach and engage patrons. The analytics are used to better manage the selection, utilization, and optimization of the collections. We also invest in innovative technologies around virtual reality and artificial intelligence. Most libraries are run with minimal resources, without any bandwidth for creating innovation. We are investing in the future of libraries and the possibilities of what they can become for future generations. We provide programs consistent with the mission of the library to educate the community, the entire community. Few areas of focus are childhood literacy, lifelong learning, commerce, and workforce development. And there's a list of programs up there on the screen, a sampling of them. ALA. Our library systems have been recognized by ALA for their award-winning programs. Our employees are participants, prominent committee members, supporters, and engaged with ALA. Our employees are encouraged to join organizations of their choosing to enhance their development, which only benefits our partners and customers. As an organization, we attend ALA conferences, and LS&S recently obtained the status of Library Champions, while sponsoring library scholarships for future MLIS graduates. We will continue to support and educate this organization as we are all working towards the betterment of libraries. Measurable outcomes. Measurable outcomes wherever possible matters. We believe in transparency through reporting. LS&S will provide monthly, quarterly, and annual reports to its stakeholders, the library board, city, council. We provide statistics as required to the state library board as well. We will work together to create joint metrics to achieve objectives. Up on the screen are some samples of success. We do not claim to be perfect. Providing services is not a perfect process, and we are responsive to our supporters and critics. We strive to always work towards a better outcome. I'm going to pass it back over to Todd.
So at the heart of every great library is the staff. We work hard every day to motivate, educate, and encourage our staff to be their very best. First, LS&S is planning to rebadge the current staffs at their current compensation with competitive benefits and affordable benefits. We intend to have employees stay connected with the city and will always be local, your neighbors working and living within the community. The greatest compliment we get is when patrons have no idea we're operating their library. The Escondido Public Library will always be branded and operated as the Escondido Public Library. So we are a company of librarians. 95% of our 1,000 employees work within libraries. Many are MIS graduates and are engaged in library professional organizations. We do believe that the library professional staff needs to be augmented with other types of professionals, such as social workers, education professionals, and technology experts, just to name a few. As libraries grow to provide more services, the types of people required to deliver these services will require a change in the professional staffing of libraries.
Building a new library for Escondido is critical to everyone in the city. It's a critical endeavor. The city, as Jeff has mentioned, has been preparing for this event for 17 years. LS&S knows that our ability to operate a library that meets and exceeds the needs of the entire community will support the efforts to garner the two-thirds majority needed. The Riverside system that we operate has grown and continues to grow under our operational leadership, and we're proud of that fact. We are prepared to assist the city in the campaign to educate, promote, and influence the bond measure. We will partner in design, build, and delivery. In addition to new facilities, our operational performance has assisted and promoted the renovation of several of our partner libraries. Our performance encourages and supports our communities to make further investments in their assets. Through our efforts and our partnerships with the community, we have been successful in raising much-needed economic support for our communities. We have extensive experience and resources dedicated to fundraising efforts. There are some examples up on the screen to share for you folks. LS&S has a grant support team located within the libraries and at the corporate level. We have received awards throughout California for such things as virtual reality, personal finance education, buying a house, investments, and managing personal finances, just to name a few, as others are listed on the screen.
So as you've heard, what are we proposing? So LS&S is proposing to save the citizens of Escondido, on average, $400,000 per year, which works out to roughly $4 million over the next 10 years. There are economies of scale with books, supplies, materials, maintenance, and service contracts, buying locally whenever possible. Extended library hours to 7 days a week, 60 hours per week, extending outreach to the greater community. Expanded library programs, services, and innovation as previously discussed, and improved performance while providing the city with a known and controllable investment for years to come. So we are 83 libraries nationwide. We have 30-plus years of experience in the library business. We have a history of performance with a 96% retention rate. We are a California company, and I stress that 60% of our staff reside and work within California, with 9 library systems and 49 libraries managed in California. The majority of the taxes paid by our company are in the state of California. We have a regional operations center in the state of California, and we are 100% committed to the library vitality. So we work to delight our customers, and we're always striving to improve. We leave you with one of our quotes from one of our partners and customers, Peggy Olay from the Shasta County Library System. And with that, I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, any pressing question, or shall we go with the public hearings?
Mayor, I think we want to just wrap up with
Okay.
just the last item, which is more of our specific staff recommendation.
Okay.
Jay, do you want to pull up that last slide? So that consists of 3 parts. First of all, authorizing, should you so choose, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to negotiate a contract with LS&S to provide day-to-day operational services at the library, including provisions to expand the number of hours. Number 2, authorizing staff to engage in good faith negotiations with all the applicable bargaining units. And number 3, direct the city manager and city attorney to return with appropriate terms and conditions upon which the city council may enter into a contract for the management of the library. I did have one citizen who's been very involved asked today whether or not the contract would be available to the public before the council would ever execute it, should you choose to go in that direction, and the answer to that question is yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, or let's go? Let's go with the, yes.
Normally, we ask questions of the staff report before we
Right.
go to, would you
Yeah.
like me to wait until after all the commentary to ask my questions? Of the
It's-
staff report?
If you want, you can ask questions now, but I think when we hear from the people, we'll go to the questions and comments.
Is
Or
that your
would you-
preference? Because it's your
It-
meeting, so.
It's fine. If unless you feel a pressing need to ask a question now, we can move on with the public works and get things together.
Okay, so I'd want to hear the comments, but I do want to double back to ask some
abs-
questions specifically
absolutely.
about this content.
We are here. We did a light agenda today because of the library, so we can have as